Hey guys, welcome to all the UPSC aspirant. I'm welcoming you here on my channel. This is Vineet Pandey. Let's talk about the PYQs. See, you can see the paper here. This is Civil Services Main 2023. ये कुछ early जो informations हैं. These are the things, and let's go to the questions directly. This is a session where I'm going to talk about the PYQs of 2023. So if you are a new student, take this video seriously so that you understand how to prepare UPSC optional English. See this thing. I'll take the pen here and the concept of pen. Okay, here we have the pen. Sorry. So what are the prominent features of metaphysical poetry? You can see this thing. Answer the following questions. Answer the following questions, comment on the topics, and it's 150 words, 10 marks for each. 5 questions, 10 marks for each, total 50. Now, see, let's see the questions one by one, then we'll get back. The first question we have, what are the prominent features of metaphysical poetry? Prominent features, what do you understand by prominent features? What is exactly the prominent feature? It's like characteristics. Right, this must be blurred on your screen because it is actually not a proper copy, but I am sure you will be able to read the questions. Then I'll also zoom it for you, so hope you're able to read it. Then the next point that comes is discipline in neoclassical literature, social and literary both. What is the idea of discipline, the idea of decorum? It is actually a reference of literary criticism. Literary criticism reference discipline and decorum in neoclassical literature, social and literary both. We have to talk about the idea of social structure and literary structure. This is a tough question. Then comes elaborate the terms epic and mock epic with suitable examples. So they are talking about what is epic, what is mock epic. Rape of the Lock by Alexander Pope is mentioned in the syllabus. So when we talk about mock epic is just a copy of epic. Here in this question, we will have to talk about epic, what is the quality of epic, what are the characteristics of epic, then how epic becomes a mock epic. Then, much of the writings of the Victorian age reflected the pressing social, economic and religious issues. Yahan pe they are simply saying this thing that we have to talk about Victorian age, we have to talk about social, economic and religious issues of Victorian age in this question. Then they say the major features of romantic poetry. So these are the 5 questions taken from the last paper and I'm going to tell you how to prepare these questions. आपको सिर्फ ये देखना है, अगर आप कोचिंग क्लासेस में नहीं हैं, हम इन क्वेश्चंस को कैसे तैयार कर सकते हैं, हमें क्या-क्या पढ़ना चाहिए. My last video of UPSC, I talked about syllabus. I've explained it. Watch that video of syllabus so that you understand the syllabus in a proper way. Then you will understand how to read these things in a proper way. So let's talk about these things one by one. The first thing that we have to go for is the first question. So let's take the question one by one. The first thing, the prominent features of metaphysical poetry. So we have to understand this thing that metaphysical poetry is the part of later Elizabethans, or you can say the early Jacobeans. Now, what is metaphysical poetry? So to understand this thing, we need to go for a proper study of metaphysical poetry. The students who are registered with us, they have been given proper lecture on metaphysicals. We have to make a group. In the group, we will have Kershaw, John Donne, Andrew Morville, Abraham Cowley and a lot of other writers like Henry Vaughan and others. But here we'll have to understand what is metaphysical. Meta is beyond, physical is the world. Then who coined the term metaphysics? Who was the first man who developed the group called Metaphysical School of Poetry? And how T.S. Eliot connected metaphysicals with modern poetry and talks about the unification of sensibility. So when you study metaphysical poetry, you will find out that metaphysical writers were not ordinary writers. They were different writers. They were using conceits. These conceits were far-fetched imageries. Their writing style was unconventional. Their starting of poetry and the ending of poetry was totally in an abrupt manner. So ये जो पूरा concept है कि metaphysicals है क्या? If you understand these things, you can go one by one. We can go for all these pointers one by one, following 150 words. It's easy to talk about metaphysical poetry characteristics. It's an easy question. When I prepared my student for UPSC optionals, we gave them quotations. So if you have quotes and if you understand those points one by one in a proper way, this question can be answered in a perfect way. Then the question number 2 is discipline in neoclassical literature, social and literary both. We are talking about neoclassical literature. Neoclassical literature was actually a copy of classical literature. It was the reintroduction of classics in the Augustan age. These writers like Pope, Swift and others, they were more concerned about rhyme and pattern. They simply believed in this thing that the content can be compromised, but the style should never be compromised. And to implement the style, how these people have handled social issues and literary things. Alexander Pope's Rape of the Lock is one of the finest examples of neoclassical poetry. It is mocking the 18th century fashionable society, the demerits of 18th century fashionable society, condition of women, condition of men, condition of social structure, condition of judiciary, and all these things are being mocked at with the perfection of closed couplet style. यहाँ पे closed couplet style use हुआ, society की बात बहुत अच्छे से हुई है, literary references में बहुत अच्छे से है. Alexander Pope uses Abdi Viller's famous book Le Comte de Gavelles, where for the first time Rosicrucian mythology was used. Alexander Pope uses that thing and talks about judiciary. He says, hungry judges soon the sentence may sign when summoned by the wives or their concubine. He attacks the 18th century fashionable woman and says, no louder shrieks beating heaven were cast when their husband, their lapdog, breathed their last. To answer this question, all we need is some quotations and some lines that can be taken from Gulliver's Travels or that can be taken from Rape of the Lock. Then comes the third question. What is epic? What is mock epic? Elaborate these terms. Epic. So we have Paradise Lost. And when we study Paradise Lost, we also understand Homer, Homeric simile, Homeric style, all the greatest epics written by Homer, Virgil. These concepts, epic, of highly narrative story, which is filled with all types of literary devices, and then it deals with gods, goddesses, Homeric similes are involved, and it has a grandeur of style, just like Paradise Lost. But then we go for mock epic. What is mock epic? Mock epic has everything that an epic has. So हर वो चीज जो epic में होती है, mock epic में भी होती है. But the only difference is the main purpose is mocking. यहाँ पे main purpose क्या है? Mock करना, to make fun of. So mock epic, one of the finest example of mock epic is Rape of the Lock. William Hazlitt called Rape of the Lock perfection of mock epic. So technically, if you take examples, here we have the examples from the syllabus only. The Paradise Lost and Rape of the Lock, the example of epic, example of mock epic. Then, much of these writings of Victorian age, they talk about pressing social order, economic and religious issues. So yes, it is again an easy question. It's a very easy question because when you study Victorian literature, you will find out that most of the Victorian writers were dealing with Victorian pyramid, Victorian class gap. They were talking about the society which is torn between the super rich and the super poor people. We talk about Charles Dickens' Hard Times. We know that in Charles Dickens' Hard Times, the economic structure, then utilitarian method of living life, pragmatic method of education, company strikes, surviving in poverty, and value of money. It is beautifully described in this famous work, Hard Times. You take the reference of Thomas Hardy, Mayor of Casterbridge, Jude, the obscure condition of poor people trying to survive, it's all mentioned. When you take references of religious issues, the Oxford movement in Victorian writings, the Tractarian movement in Victorian writings, beautifully define the religious issues of Victorian age. And talking about social conditions, William Makepeace Thackeray's Vanity Fair is one of the finest example that talks about the social upheaval, also talks about social turmoil. So technically, to answer this question, all we need is complete information of Victorians. So it cannot be answered with one book or one novelist only. Here we will have to take references of multiple writers, writers who are directly dealing with social issues, writers who are dealing with religious issues, and writers who are dealing with economic crisis of Victorians. But yes, it is not a tough question, ये आसान question है. Then, the major features of romantic poetry. So we all know this thing that when the romanticism came to England in 1798, we know this thing that it came because of German philosophy of Sturm and Drang and the French Revolution. But here, as I have taught this thing in my classes, I've taught this thing that the most important fundamental factor of romantic literature is imagination. Imagination is one of the most important feature, one of the most important characteristic. Imagination, melancholy, then melancholy leads you towards isolation, then escape. So, what gives you most happy moments? Reality or imagination? So, you are always happy in imagination. In imagination, you can feel that you are the king of the world. It's imagination. So, you have that happiness. In imagination, you can be with your loved ones. It's imagination. So, romanticism, it starts with imagination. But then they come to reality. When they come to reality, they become melancholic. When they are melancholic, they find isolation. They are secluded away. And then they want to leave the world. That is escapism. So imagination, melancholy, nature, escapism, all these are the major factors of romantic poetry. Now in this section, if we talk about this, section 1, with these 5 questions where 50 marks are sure, I believe that if you are prepared in my style or if you are prepared by me in my classes, I think 40 marks to kahin nahi gaye. 40 marks to 100% sure हो जाएंगे, because the only tough thing that you will have to define, you can have some issues in defining here. सिर्फ यहाँ आपके थोड़े नंबर कम होंगे. 3 questions and this one, ये free के questions है, free के questions. But the good thing is, the important thing is that you have to write down these points in 150 words. So technically you should know what to write, how to write, what are the starting lines, how to start the question. Biggest issue with UPSC optional students is that they have knowledge but they do not know how to write. It is not hi-fi grammar. It is not collection of hi-fi vocabulary. It is actually how you actually align your ideas in a proper way and you take your answer in a leading way that the reader wants to read second line, third line, fourth line. It should not be like that your first 2 lines are mugged up, you have crammed these lines, you have written it. Other 3 lines are different. These 2-3 lines are not matching. There should be a proper decorum. So if you follow that method, it will be easily done. In my next session, जब मैं आपको next session दूंगा, so in the next section we will be going for these questions. If you are UPSC aspirants, stay tuned on my channel. Next session, I will be explaining these questions so that you understand what to read, how to read, and from where to read. All the students who are looking for professional classes, अगर आप professional classes करना चाहते हैं, तो our admissions are going on. We have offers for you. आपके लिए बहुत सारे offers भी हैं. As I give you some examples, the 15 mark question, 20 mark question, 15 mark question, Tempest may be classed as a dramatic spectacle rather than a drama proper. So, as a drama or just a dramatic spectacle, this is a tough question. These questions cannot be read without having a scholarly book on Tempest. If you are just reading Tempest as a story, you will not be able to answer this thing. So this is a 15 mark question. This will need a teacher so that you understand these things and you can define it. क्योंकि आपको ये नहीं समझ में आएगा कि class as dramatic spectacle ये क्या concept है, and then drama as a proper drama, as drama proper. What is the difference? Even JRF qualified people don't understand this kind of question. This is where we have the standard of UPSC. Then Paradise is a parable of Milton's day and hours and of hours, the inner but also the outer history of mankind. Yeah, just इतना कहना चाह रहा है कि Paradise Lost, Saturn, condition of Milton and our condition are aligned. This is actually a proper study that how Paradise Lost is relevant today. Again, a tough question, and this is of 20 marks. This cannot be answered without any expertise. Why? Because if you read Paradise Lost will not talk about current day, the history of mankind and other things. It is actually a critical study of Paradise Lost. So here you will need to read a lot of papers so that you understand these things. Then comes In Memoriam is the progress from doubt and bitter grief to a sense of certainty and hope. How In Memoriam starts? So we know that Tennyson took 17 years to write it for his best friend Arthur Henry Hallam. But how it starts with pain and other things. Doubt and bitter grief. Tennyson is crying, Tennyson is sad, he says break, 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 tears, ideal tears. But then how Tennyson, he switches towards the sense of certainty and hope. It is just a critical evaluation of in memoriam. Again, this question is going to cost you 15 marks. These are the questions where you need help. So I'll be giving you the answers of these 3 questions. It is quite possible that I just come with one question, one answer in per video, because they will take a lot of time. But I'll also prepare you how to write these answers. I'll tell you what are the sources where to read, and we will also provide you recommended material. All the students who want to be the part of our classes, जिन बच्चों को अभी भी क्लासेस ज्वाइन करनी है, यूपीएससी क्लासेस, यूपीएससी ऑप्शनल इंग्लिश, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट्स अ वेरी स्मॉल फीस, बहुत छोटी फीस है आपके लिए. सेकेंड थिंग, you have a lifetime membership. Lifetime membership. So please remember this thing. And this lifetime membership is UPSC lifetime. UPSC life means your last attempt. Wahan tak ki life. So if you have 5 years, 6 years, you have 6 attempts left, you will be the member of our classes. Technically, if you want to be the member of classes, even if you have qualified, you want to learn literature, you want to practice writing, there will be no cancellation of admission after the course completion. ये आपके लिए lifetime चलता रहेगा. And if you're a good student, you will always be in group. Even after 10 years, if you want to come and touch and you want to talk, you want to ask questions, I would love to answer those things. So technically, you will be the part of our classes. To join UPSC classes, you just have to drop me a WhatsApp. 8595 738519. I, Vineet Pandey, have taught in University of Delhi, have gone through all types of literature coming from the UGC NET background. I have my own 10 times NET qualified record. I am double JRF. I have taught in University of Delhi for 3 years. I am writer of 4 books, 2 times GATE qualified. And when I was preparing for my own JRF, I went through all UPSC PYQs. It's been 3 years. We are teaching UPSC optional English to help the needy students. There are hundreds of students, but they are not getting guidance. There are students that don't even know how to start. So in that situation, if you are also struggling, I invite you to be the part of the classes. Just drop me a WhatsApp message. You'll be getting a call from my office, and we will be not only studying, we'll also go for all the PYQ solutions. You will be getting all the answers. We will be helping you to develop answers. We will be giving you sample answers, and we'll also give you a mock test. With this message, I take your leave. Thank you so much. Stay tuned and subscribe the channel. Thank you.